everybody. So I thought it would be a fun, it would be a cool idea to share about my eyes. So if this is the first video you're seeing of mine or from the Vandermeer Vlogs channel, welcome. I don't have anything planned. I don't have like a script or like talking points. I just kind of wanted to like be as natural and normal as possible because I think that comes across a lot more genuine. This is Peanut. He is the best. But let me just kind of introduce the situation. So I have a rare eye disease called pars planitis, and I was diagnosed at 6 years old. Stop licking me. I was diagnosed at 6 years old with pars planitis. I've had 8 eye surgeries, 7 on my right eye and 1 on my left, and I've been legally blind in my right eye since I was 6, for like basically as long as I can remember. But yeah, so I was diagnosed at 6, and for as long as I can remember, I have not been able to see out of my right eye, basically my whole life. So I've been dealing with this for 20 years. My left eye is a different story. I had vision loss 3 years ago. It's going to be the 3-year anniversary, August 30th. So 2017 is when I experienced the vision loss in my left eye. I'm not really good at math. Let me figure this out. Hold on. 3 years ago, I was 22. Okay. So I was 22 when I had vision loss in my left eye. So what I'm going to do in this video is I will walk you through sort of when I found out that I had vision loss, how it kind of went down, like what I encountered. This is awful. This is a train wreck. It's a train wreck. That's life though. Life is a train wreck. So we're just gonna keep on rolling, right? Anyways, so I'm gonna try to highlight what I went through in 2017 with my left eye. And yeah, I think it's important, even if nobody watches this, just for myself, because with grief and dealing with loss and having to deal with a new situation in life, I wish back then I would have recorded more about how I was feeling and where my mind was at, because having it be 3 years in a month, you know, I catch myself every year reflecting and wanting to understand how far I've come. Have I reached the other side of this, right? Like, have I passed go? So really this is like for me, so in 10 years I can look back and be like, oh my gosh, wow, like look at how much better I am now, or look at how far I've come. Because there is a lot of healing and there's a lot of things that people don't see, right? When I post on social media, or even my family, you know, there's a lot of stuff people aren't aware of and won't ever be aware of, because like, right, you're not me, you didn't live it. But I want to try to explain that for anyone that's interested, so then you don't feel alone in your journey to healing, like I did years ago. And I know you want attention. Okay, I'm gonna put him in his kennel so he doesn't bother me. Go in your kennel. Go in. Thank you. Okay. Anywho, so I'm just gonna start from the beginning. So it's August 30th, 2017 was the day that I noticed the vision loss in my only seeing eye, which is my left eye. So basically, at the time I was working at a construction company. They had a shop, so like a building where all the building material was, and then they had like their business center. They were attached together by like a walkway. So I woke up, I went to work, I was in the shop, and mind you, my sister worked at that company with me, so it was nice to have her there. But I was in the shop with my sister working on a project, and when I went from inside lighting to outside lighting, I immediately noticed millions and millions and millions of floaters in my left eye, which for the first time in my life, I'd never seen a floater in my left eye, only my right eye. So I kind of had to do like a, which eye has the floaters, what's going on, kind of get my bearings. By the time I had walked from the shop to outside, back into my office with my sister, I was like, something's not right. Like I knew in my gut and by what I was seeing that something was wrong. So I sent an email to my doctor and I said, hey, this is my symptoms. I have no pain, I have no redness, but there's a ton of floaters. And I'll try to put a clip in here that shows you, like I'll put it over my video so you can see what I was seeing. So basically I sent the email. I said, I need to come in and see you. Like, is this an urgent matter? Can I wait a couple days? She replied within like 5 minutes and said, no, you need to come now. And honestly, I'm a very emotional person. So, but I say that, but I wasn't emotional until my doctor kind of confirmed my fears, right? It's like, I knew something was off, but her urgency made me, you know, emotional. So I started crying, got really upset, told my sister that I had to leave work, and thankfully I only lived about 4 minutes away, so I drove home as fast as I could and called my mom and said, you gotta come get me, like we have to go to the doctor right now, this is an emergency. And yeah, I just remember being in the car with my mom. Wow, 3 years and I'm still a baby. I just remember being in the car with my mom and she kept asking me like, you know, what does it look like now? Has anything changed? Has it gotten worse? Because she's been through this my whole life with me. She, you know, she gets it. She understands the severity of the disease. And I can just remember looking up at the sky. It was a pretty blue sky day and just seeing floaters, and everything was really distorted and blurry. You know, it makes you upset because for 20 years, I guess at that time it was like maybe 18 years, 17 years. For 17 years, I've always had 20/20 in my left eye. I've always been able to see with at least one eye. I've never had issues looking at the sky, looking at the trees, reading a clock, things of that nature. So suddenly, within the matter of a day, having that all be gone and be different, it really hurt. So I'll put in some slides here of my eyes. And just like kind of the picture I took at the doctor's office, I had an active flare in my left eye for the first time since I was diagnosed. and I was immediately put on steroids and multiple drops and was told to, you know, just wait it out, see if we could get it to calm down. While all that was happening, Justin, my husband now, my boyfriend at the time, he was not working. So we decided that, you know, to keep our minds busy and to kind of give me relief from the stress that all of this was carrying, we went on a road trip where we actually got engaged. And that was a really fun road trip. I'll put some pictures in and some videos. It was just nice to have him, even though in the beginning of all this, like, he really didn't have a lot of knowledge about it, which was probably my fault. I should have spent more time communicating to him about my eye disease and what the future looked like and whatnot, but besides the point, that was a really tough couple of months, even though I was like seemingly happy on social media because I was like on road trips with my boyfriend and or fiance, you know. But I can just remember, you know, during that first couple months, like living in like La La Land, where I was just trying not to think about it, and having a lot of hope that once I was taking off all this medication and that my flare went away, that my vision would be back to normal. And then I guess from here we will fast forward to, I want to say, I don't remember the date exactly, but I'll put it in here if I find the date. But we'll fast forward. I had stopped working because of my vision. I was seeing doctors all the time, trying to get my flare under control. I was on a road trip, just trying to keep myself busy, watched a lot of Hallmark movies, and sat in a dining room chair in front of the TV because I couldn't see from the couch anymore. It was just a very weird time. I went through a lot of weird emotions, but I finally had like this moment a couple months later where I said, you know what, I'm gonna start working out again. I'm gonna go for runs. I'm gonna bring myself up from this and I'm gonna make myself feel better. So what I did is I went on my first jog around my block. And by the time I got back from that jog, something in my right eye didn't feel right. I just remember being able to look up and I would see what I called an amoeba. So it was a black circle with white interior and then a black dot in the middle. So I'd tilt my head back and I could see this thing float into my vision, and then I'd put my head down and it would disappear. And I'd do that a couple times just to make sure I wasn't seeing something weird. And here's a picture, but I have a bruise on my right eye. After that run, because the next day I found out that the insert, I have an implant in my right eye called a Retisert. The implant had come loose during one of my runs. So it was free floating in my right eye, which is so fun for me. So my doctor had me come in. I did an ultrasound on my eye. Here are the ultrasound images. If you don't really understand ultrasounds, there's that little like dot circle. I have it squared in this picture, and that was the Retisert that was free floating in my eye, which is not supposed to be doing that. So at that point they said, okay, we're gonna have to do surgery on your right eye to remove this implant, and while we're in there, we're gonna go ahead and give you a new lens, and we're gonna take out your cataract, and we're also gonna put a new Retisert in because it worked really well on your eye. So that sent me into a year-long recovery period with my right eye. See, so at that point, that was my 7th eye surgery on my right eye. So you can imagine having 7 surgeries on one body part. You know, things get fragile, things get irritated, you get a lot of scar tissue. So here's like me chronologically going through the healing process of that surgery, and it started out really bloody, really bloodshot, really gross. You know, as I progressed through healing, there was a lot of pain. I had a lot of stitches. You know, through Thanksgiving, I was basically holding my right eye closed, and, you know, my family would just make jokes and say, oh, she's a pirate, or Squinty McGee, whatever. You know, that stuff doesn't bother me. I don't care. People can make fun of me for having my eye closed. I mean, I was in pain. But, you know, they were really supportive and helpful. But went from being bloody and painful to looking like raw chicken, in my opinion. It was a very, very extensive surgery. They basically went around my iris to remove that part of my eye so they could get to the interior chamber where the Retisert was floating. So they had to reattach all that tissue on top of removing my lens, and my iris sticks down really bad. So they had to, you know, work on my iris to help it dilate and give me a new lens, and oh my gosh, yeah. So it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with right after, you know, vision loss in my left eye. So about a year, I was still having redness and irritation. But that's just how my eye heals. It's very slow, with like very drawn out process. And so I guess, you know, jumping from vision loss in my left eye to surgery in my right eye to then healing from surgery in my right eye for a year, it was draining. It took a lot out of me. I dropped out of school. I really wasn't working other than nannying part-time, because that's all I felt like I could do with my vision, was like help and teach children. And so once I got like healed up from that surgery in my right eye, you know, my wedding date was coming up with Justin. I moved in with him. So I moved away from my family by about an hour and a half. Things had calmed down quite a bit. And I started working at a company, like an actual company, as the receptionist. Started feeling normal again, doing normal things. I wasn't really driving anymore, just for my safety and for people's safety. I just didn't feel comfortable driving with the way my vision was. So about 6 months into my new job and living with Justin in Illinois, I don't really remember, and I don't know if it's just my brain like erases parts of this or not. I don't really remember, but it was about 6 months into my job. I woke up one night in the middle of the night with excruciating pain in my left eye. Prior to moving and not going to school anymore and not driving anymore, when I was still living at my mom's, I was on an oral medication that was keeping my pressure in check because I was on so many steroids to help the inflammation from my surgery. They had to keep my pressure low because if you take steroids, it can increase your pressure. So my pressure was running pretty high in both my eyes, which is why I was on an oral pill for my pressure. But the pill made me feel crazy. I was having anxiety attacks and fits where the room would spin around me, and I just had to like get a grip, so I would have to like touch someone, like my mom or my boyfriend. Like I just had to touch someone and feel like I was alive, you know, keep me grounded. You know, I'd get hot sweats, and I gained a lot of weight, and I felt horrible. I just felt horrible. It was a nasty medication. And the minute I started telling my doctor all of these symptoms that I was having, she said, "We're getting you off this." So slowly over the next 6 months, she stepped me down off of all my oral medication and kept me on all my drops, and my pressure had seemed to stabilize on its own. But then jump forward to when I'm living with Justin in Illinois and working full-time, my pressure spikes in my left eye in the middle of the night. So I rush to the doctor as soon as I can the next day. He takes my pressure reading in my left eye, and it was 50. If you're new to the eye community or don't know much about the lingo, a normal pressure reading in your eye should be about 15. So you can imagine 50 is like very dangerous. Basically just means that you're pushing on your retina, which can cause damage, and or swelling, which can cause damage to your retina. So you have to alleviate that. There's multiple things you can do. So what my doctor at the time did was put me right back on those medications that I had just gotten off of, because that was like a quick remedy, was just to see if that oral medication would work, get in my system and lower my pressure. So I was at his office for about 2 hours being monitored while I was taking, I believe I took 3 pills that day on top of like 5 new eye drops, just to get the pressure to be relieved. And as soon as he got it down into the 20s, he let me go home. He kept me on the oral pills, and the next day I went to my specialist in the city, and she thankfully works in a big office with all kinds of doctors, all kinds of specialties. So she's my uveitis doctor, and she sent me to the other side of the hall to a glaucoma doctor. And the glaucoma doctor wanted to do surgery, obviously, because, you know, it's dangerous to have eye pressure spike and it not be controlled by drops and medication. Because when she did my pressure reading, it was still in the 30s. It wasn't coming down any lower. I asked if I could have some time to make a decision, basically. And thankfully, she gave me a couple weeks to try and see if the oral medication and drops would work. They didn't work. So in September of 2019, I had my first surgery on my left eye. Which was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Because if you think about it, my right eye is legally blind. So without my left eye, I can see shapes, light, colors, but I can't make out details of objects, meaning I couldn't watch something on my phone or the TV. I could listen, you know, and appreciate the world that way. But, you know, it just really bums you out when you want to watch like a TV show and all you can do is hear it rather than see it. So it took a lot of therapy sessions and a lot of praying to get me prepared for surgery on my left eye. If you're not aware, once you have surgery on an eye, they keep it patched overnight for about 24 hours until you see the doctor the next day. Where they then remove the patch and see how your vision is. So that was gonna be my one big hurdle. The other hurdle is my doctor told me that I could experience more vision loss after surgery depending on how fast my eye cleared, because the fluid in the middle of your eye is called vitreous. And so with pars planitis, you get inflammation, which means the vitreous becomes clouded. So she had assumed by doing surgery on my left eye that would aggravate my pars planitis, causing cloudy vitreous, causing lower vision. So I was already scared to have a patch on my left eye overnight for 24 hours and be relying on my right eye. Here's some pictures after surgery. And then I was also terrified to open my eye for the first time after surgery, to see what life was going to be like for the next couple months. Thankfully, when they took my patch off, my vision was no different than before surgery. So my inflammation was low. They had put a steroid pocket basically in my eye to slowly disperse to keep inflammation low, which was a blessing, even though it looked gnarly. Here's a picture. And since the surgery, I have had clean bills of health. My husband and I have moved from Illinois to North Carolina. We've been here 6 months. I just saw all my doctors, my retina doctor, my glaucoma doctor, and my pars planitis doctor. My pressure has been 18 to 19 each time I've gone, and they all said my eyes look good and healthy, and that is a blessing, humongous blessing, because, you know, in 2 months, it'll have been a year since my surgery on my left eye, and it finally feels like that I can like take a breath, because I swear these last 3 years, from vision loss to surgeries to not driving anymore to relearning how to live and do things, dropping out of school, changing locations, changing jobs, there was just so much that happened, and it's a lot, and I'm so proud of myself. I'm gonna cry, sorry. I'm just really, really proud, because right, like, people, they don't understand the struggles of dealing with an eye disease or low vision or being legally blind, because you look at me and you think, oh my God, she's normal, like she just has glasses, surely her glasses can fix everything, but they don't. The best I can see with my glasses is 20/50 in my left eye, and 2200 in my right. And that's just been my life. That's how I've been living the past 3 years. And I've really adjusted well. I really think that I have gotten over the hump of, you know, what is life going to be like and how am I going to do things again? You know, really beating myself up because people just didn't get it or thought like, oh, how many fingers do I have? It's like, 2. What's that prove? Yeah, so I'm just proud. I'm really proud of myself for like healing, getting through this, having a smile on my face, and not giving up, because there were some days where I wanted to, where I thought what is the point of life if I'm gonna be in pain and have surgeries and medical bills and, you know, not drive anymore. I'm 25, you know, like, it's the end of the world if you can't drive, but here I am. My husband is a saint and drives me everywhere I want to go, and I'll drive on occasion when I feel like it's safe, or if I'm having like a better day with my vision, because it does fluctuate. But yeah, I think from where I started in 2017 with my vision loss to where I am today, I've found like a good spot. I found a way to be happy. I really enjoy the song that a morning dove sings, so I'll listen for that every time I go outside now and go, good morning dove. It's like a funny way because it's like a morning dove, you know, good morning dove. And, you know, I have a magnifier on my phone, so if I'm struggling to read something, I can just pull the magnifier up. Other than that, you know, my husband is really great about reading menu items to me, or explaining directionally where I should be looking or stuff like that. Yeah, hopefully everything I said made sense. Like I said, I'm just trying to be real and like raw about what I've been going through the last 3 years. I'm really, really good at writing. So all my Instagram captions for the past 3 years, like when I'm talking about my eyes, I feel like explain a lot. But verbally, it's just, there's a lot to say. I don't even know how long I've been recording. Half an hour? Half an hour, wow. Yeah, like I said, this is just really like for me in the future to look at this and appreciate how far I've come, because I have been loving life the past 6 months. There have been some hard days, don't get me wrong. There have been days where I like beat myself up and feel down in the dumps, but they pass so much faster than they used to. You know, it's just, your mind is powerful, and whatever you're facing, whatever is ahead of you, you're gonna get there. You're gonna feel better. When I first had vision loss, my motto was, my struggle is my strength. I got it tattooed on my back years ago and realized during that very challenging time that it was true. And no matter the struggle that I am facing, I know that one day I will look back and I will appreciate how much stronger and braver I am because of it. And I encourage you to not be afraid to ask questions, to understand someone's story better, to spend time gaining knowledge on someone's experience. A lot of times people will mistake what I'm talking about as a temporary thing. But I have to remind people that this is a disease that is not curable. There is very little research done, and nobody really talks about it or knows about it. So my role in the pars planitis community is to be the voice, to talk about it, to bring awareness to my situation, and make sure people understand that just because you can't tell when you look at me that I'm sick or that I am battling a very scary disease does not mean that I don't struggle. It doesn't mean that I'm not having a hard time. And it doesn't mean that you get to just assume that I'll get better one day. I pray often that God will find a cure or a solution, but I also keep the expectation that until our voice is heard and acknowledged and there's money and research done for pars planitis, that, you know, it is what it is, and I'm just going to deal with it, and I'm going to keep fighting because I am a vision warrior. I will never stop raising awareness or bringing awareness to my situation. And unfortunately, as much as I would love to sit and talk about rainbows and kittens, you know, there's a lot of real, hard, unexpected things that go along with this disease. And I just, you know, I want to reach that empathetic side of people, and I want them to understand what I go through and what, at least on my Facebook group, 300 other people go through, because I am part of a pars planitis like Facebook group, and it has been wonderful being able to share our stories and experiences, pardon me. So I just encourage you, spend time understanding someone's situation and what they've been going through and what they've been facing. Try to walk in their shoes and understand, you know, how it feels to be 25 and not drive anymore. Because I feel like that's something attainable, right? You can sit there and think for a minute, how would I feel if I couldn't drive? You know, and then just take steps. Take steps to understand more. Talk to me, talk to other people that have visual inabilities, vision loss, blindness, because it's a spectrum. Not one person has the same eyes. Not one single person can tell you, oh, I am just like them with my vision loss. No. Some people have complete darkness where it's black. Most people have the ability to see light and colors and shapes. And in my case, I have double vision, so I have two pictures at all times, overlapping and mixing up my world. But don't assume that just because someone looks normal or posts, you know, how happy they are or whatever, that they are happy or that they're not dealing with their own personal struggles. Because I can tell you that social media is just like a millimeter of my life, and I would love nothing more than to be more vulnerable and open on my social media. It's just kind of terrifying, just a little scary, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I want to be better. I want to do better. So I hope this, if anything, has given you some insight into my journey the past 3 years, and maybe it opens up the door for you to have conversations with people in your life or to share your own story, your own struggle, because I think it's so important that you find community, you share your voice, and you just be heard, right? Nowadays, people just want to be heard. So I am praying for you, and I'm here if you need to talk to someone, if you're struggling, or if you just want to find out more about my eyes and how I deal with life. I would love nothing more than to talk. So drop me a comment, find me on Instagram or Facebook. Yeah, hopefully people stuck around to the end. I know this is a long video, but like I said in the beginning, it's just something I wanted for myself too, because I think it's important that you reflect. And as much as I used to love journaling, I just haven't gotten back to that yet. It's hard. But one day I will. One day I will. And for now, I'll have this video journal. So until next time, hopefully You'll see Justin and I soon. I want to start vlogging again, so hopefully you'll see us soon, and yeah, join us on our journey. Okay, thanks. Bye.